Namaskaram. This is Shruti Chilakamarri. You are listening to Classical Tuesday Shruti Layalu on Radio Surabhi 104.9 FM HD4 Americalo Telugu Nestam. Today we have with us Sri Chitravina Ravikiran, a child prodigy who identified 325 ragas and 175 talas at the age of 2, inspiring sitar icon Pandit Ravi Shankar to declare, "If you don't believe in God, look at Ravikiran." Named as Mozart of Indian music by Wisconsin State Journal, USA. Ravikiranji, enthralling audiences in numerous countries on the 21-stringed slide instrument known as Chitravina, is rated as one of the all-time greats of Indian music. A warm welcome to you, sir, Ravikiranji.
Namaskaram to you, and warm greetings to all your viewers and friends and supporters.
Thank you so much, sir. We feel honored to have you with us today.
Entirely my pleasure.
Thank you, sir. So, a child prodigy, as I was talking, at the age of 2. I cannot imagine, sir. I mean, it's just so unbelievable. I'm sure you are a born musician, gifted with all the Sangeeta Gyanam, but identifying ragams and talams at the age of 2, the age where hardly, children just start to talk a few words or sentences. So, how did that happen that you identified ragams and talams and you, in fact, were already into music by the age of 2?
First of all, the entire credit for that should go to my father and Guruji, Sri Chitravina Ravikiran. In fact, whenever people say, that these gifts are God-given, I also strongly believe, and my father has shown to the world, that it is not only nature but also nurture. And that is because he is himself a phenomenal musician, both in vocal and Chitravina.
Mm-hmm.
And his guru, of course, my grandfather, Gotuadev Narayanengar. So they were all big models for him, but he actually experimented by seeing whether a child could grasp music just like it grasps language. Mm-hmm. So you teach the child words, you show a pen to a child, you show a ball, you show an apple, and you start telling the names of those things to the child, right? So that is visual learning. My father started doing not only that, he also blended oral learning. You show a child raga sahana. So he would sing it so attractively that even if a child is playing with something else, it will immediately look up towards where the music is coming from. Then he would whisper the name of the raga sahana.
Oh my God. Oh.
Atana. Another Piravi. He would make the music so impactful that it will go right into the not only the oral neural systems of the child, but it will go into the long-term memory of the child. This is something that my father discovered and showcased to the entire world first in 1969. Today we are talking about infant psychology. There's so many other things. So all these areas, my father straddled it even before such terms were introduced in common discourses. So what he did was music education, infant education, infant psychology, and infant nurture and growth. Everything was covered in what my father did. And the numbers, as you said, 325 ragas and 175 talas, identifying composers, identifying the gamakas, not only identifying, but singing. See, now, for example, if somebody asked me to sing Shruti, I should be able to sing the Arohanam at that age. So, kind of thing.
So, were you able to sing at that age?
Sing in some infant voice. In fact, there is the YouTube recording. I don't know whether you've seen that. There is a YouTube recording of my demonstration in Music Academy in 1969 during the music festival.
Yeah.
It should be there. I think that recording itself was hidden for many years, and so suddenly it came to the surface. So
That's
it is there,
wonderful.
where all the other artists were also testing me. People like
Mm-hmm.
legends, Ramnath Krishnan ji,
Oh my
uh,
God. Yeah.
T.N. Krishnan sir. I mean, so many of the legends were there in academy who were testing, asking ragas and singing and try to scientific them. And maybe when I sang, I was also in between demanding chocolate, biscuit, and all this. So the whole thing is very candid recording. But
Yeah.
so anyway, it's there.
That's so wonderful, sir. It's definitely phenomenal. Whatever you've been talking about, it's definitely a very good inspiration for all the parents today.
That's what exactly happened, Shruti ji. See what happened when my father showcased in 1969. Entire hundreds and thousands of parents, including top musicians, whether it is Lal Gudi sir, MSG sir, L. Subramaniam's sir's parent, Lakshmi Narayan sir, so many of them. They were all senior to me, of course, but many of them started getting inspired to try their children also, put them into
True.
music early on. And so the number of young artists who came after my father showcased this,
Mm-hmm.
and the number of young performers who were there before that is a
Okay.
huge exponential contrast you'll see.
Wow.
Before that, if you see Palgat Manier, Flute Mali sir,
Mm-hmm.
Balamani sir, Veena Balachandra sir, like this, there are only some 4 or 5 prodigies who are like Kumar Gandharva, Bal Gandharva, these people in the north. So
True.
as far as prodigies were concerned, there are only a handful of them. And even they started their career when they were like 6, 7, 8, 9, kind of thing. But after my father showcased these things, people started taking their children from much younger. Today also you see some YouTube recording, a lot of people are now getting their
True.
kids to identify some 20, 30 ragas and all that, which is remarkable. It's fantastic that they are doing that.
Yeah. Yes, sir. So it's really wonderful. So, born in such a musical family, like how was your childhood? I mean, you must have had a lot of rigorous practice routines. So, do you regret that you missed some of those childhood, you know, fantasies or fun moments which you could have had, but because of the rigorous practice routines, you missed those. Do you feel any such things?
Very good question. The answer is I miss nothing in life.
Okay.
I have absolutely zero complaint. I've had the best of life. I've never missed any single thing. In my childhood also, music itself was so much of fun, so much of play, so much of enjoyment, so much of relaxation, so much of rejuvenation that
Yeah.
I never missed anything. So, my father and I would play a lot of musical games, which
Mm-hmm.
were so interesting. Now, for example, identifying the Mela numbers.
Okay.
If you say Senavati,
Mm-hmm.
7th, Mela Karta, Yagapriya, 31. So, or the reverse, 63, Katangi. So, if they say the number, I could say the Mela. And even
Wonderful.
looking at the clocks, now if you see, it should be 10:30 for you, right?
Mm.
In your time.
Yeah.
So the way we would say would be with the Medakata. So Nataka Priya, Naganandini. That's how we would even say time in our house.
Oh.
So, a lot of it. My father himself is a very, very, very dynamic personality. He never made anything boring nor stressful. There was a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
Not until I was 4 or 5, though. When 5, I was giving my first vocal concert. So obviously, that means that I was practicing from the time I was 3 or something. Proper vocal, I was practicing,
Yeah.
singing Sarle and everything. And then by the time my first concert, I still remember it was in Coimbatore
Mm-hmm.
in 1972. And
Okay.
the companies were like stalwarts, like Kandadevi Adagiri Swami sir for
Mm-hmm.
violin, Madurai Krishna Iyengar from Vidangam. They're all
Oh,
like legends
legends
who
too.
had accompanied everybody. And those are Vinayakaram sir, Ghatam. So that kind of team. So it's full 2 hour, 2.5 hours concert, not just some Geetams or
So was
something.
it a vocal concert or
Vocal
Chitravina?
concert. I
Vocal
started as a
concert.
vocalist.
Okay.
I started as a vocalist until the age of 10. I was only giving vocal concerts.
Okay.
Chitravina, I was simply playing at home just for fun because I loved the instrument.
Mm-hmm.
But professionally, I was a vocalist.
Okay.
And in those concerts, basically, I could sing anything, even Ragam, Tanam, Pallavi and all that. There are reviews of those concerts also available in the media.
Okay.
So I was singing, say, an Attatala Varanam in Adi Talam or in Panchajati, like, Viriboni, I would sing, putting Adi Talam in Mishragati. And all this knowledge was given to me, and at least anything from 300 to 500 songs my father taught me before that age. And that included dozens of Varanams, Chavalis, Pancharatna Kritis, Navagraha Kritis, Shama Shastri's masterpieces, Ratnatrayams, the Amba Kamakshi, and all these Swarajatis. So all top level compositions I was taught in that age. So today,
Manodharmam.
yes, Ragam Tanampali I sang. That means everything, no, full Manodharma. Every single thing is there. That is the, in other words, putting me at that age on stage was not my father's aim. He wanted to make a full professional level performer before he put me on stage. So today somebody may take the wrong lesson from that and say, if Ravikiran sang at 5, why can't my children sing when they are 7 or something in a concert? It's not about that. It is about what the child can do in a professional setting.
Right.
And my father's judgment, and he had actually made all these public declarations. When I was 2 itself, he said, I will make this child into a musician, not just a performing monkey, So it should be a vidwan and not just a showman, right? So the idea is, today when we want to do arangetams for children or anything, we should get the child empowered to do anything that is required for that stage setting. And that is the takeaway from my father's approach to music. It's not, age is not the factor. He used to always say, people should not come and tell you that you are singing well for your age. They should tell you are singing very well. That's it. It's not anything to do with age. So he was always measuring by absolute yardsticks of excellence and quality. And also quantity. So you can't simply learn some 20 songs and do an arangetam.
True.
So your repertoire should be very strong. Your repertoire of great composers should be very strong. Your Patantra Shuddham should be there. You should learn from the best possible sources. And your theoretical knowledge should be very strong.
True.
All these things
aspects.
He gave such all round the versatility and virtuosity, everything. But of course, if I sang, obviously my child voice will have its limitation. That is a different thing. So whatever I sang, God knows that, because I don't have the recordings of that. But I sang in big places, the big venues though. So, and drew big audiences, because now, for example, even now people in Bangalore, Ramaseva Mandali, they would actually talk about my concert in 1973, where it was open air. So you have about 10,000, 15,000 people who can sit comfortably. But there are almost 25, 30,000 people who turned up.
Oh, that's
so
amazing.
I still remember this. I remember this concert because that organizer was very enterprising. What he did, he erected some bunch of ropes, like Tirupati, where people come in from one side and walk out immediately, like some Jargandi kind of seva. He created one thing so that they could simply come, see, and go. So he kept tickets for that also, and actually he was very enterprising.
That's so interesting, sir, and whatever you said.
Yes. And the accompanist for that also, again, that photo is there actually with Vinayakaram sir. In fact, Vinayakaram sir's father also has accompanied me.
Wow.
When I was that age. Yeah. So I was very lucky. Dwaramanga Tayaru Garu, all these people, they all encouraged me very much. They were very sweet. Even all the top artists who, I will never forget. Again, I don't remember this firsthand, but I'm told, of course. M.S. Subbalakshmi ji, she hosted a reception in her house when I was 2 years old for me.
Wow.
Inviting all the top artists, top promoters of music. And so all these people, Ravi Shankar ji, he used to tell me so fondly of some of the interactions he had when I was 2 and met him in his hotel and all this. Allah Raka ji, all this artists, Amangudi sir, Ramnath Krishnan sir, I never got to see him after I became fairly older, but his wife used to recall all these incidents when he was there in academy. and all, flute Mali sir. In fact, he wrote a letter about me to the newspaper in those days, how the government should encourage me and all this. So uniformly, they were all very, very, very generous, and they all bless me.
These are all memories you'll cherish forever. Your childhood memories.
Childhood memories, especially Mali sir used to come to our house every day in Bangalore. He was a good friend of my father's also.
Okay.
So he would spend many hours in our house in Bangalore. And many of the Vidwans, Balachandra sir, Emani Shankar Shastri Garu, Nukula Garu, Balamurli sir, of course, he had known my father. All of these people had known my father as a performer, as a very, very good artist. Even when he was in his teens, he got good name from across the country. So many of them actually would respect my father more than they would be fond of me, because they have seen his brilliance also.
True. So did that not affect your academics because you were so much into music? Completely into music, maybe?
I was completely into music, and I was performing outside the city also. So I was not living in one place. So we would have extended tours, sometimes even like few months across the country. We would go to places like Jamshedpur, Dhanbad, Calcutta, Hyderabad, Khammam, Vizianagaram, Visakhapatnam. All these places we used to perform. Even so, that means a lot of travel. In Visakhapatnam, Vizianagaram, and all that. People who played me include Ivaturi Vijayeshwara Garu, Mallikarjuna Sharma Garu. Yadav Garu has played for me several times at that time, and many other stalwarts. They all used to accompany. But the schooling part of it, until my 4th standard, I did not go to school. Okay. I was only homeschooled. And how I went to school itself is an interesting story, because at that time, my father had gone to Delhi for some official visit. He was working with All India Radio and all that. And happened to meet the Prime Minister. At that time, it was Mrs. Indira Gandhi. Okay. And my sister was identifying ragas at that age. So she was about 3 years old. And so when they met, she asked what Ravikiran is doing.
So she knew about you.
Yeah, they'd all heard about me. My father himself has performed for Jawaharlal Nehru, Lal Bahadur Shastri, who was a very good tabla player, by the way. When he was Prime Minister, they would have musical sessions where Lal Bahadur Shastri ji would play the tabla. He would invite my father late night for some musical times too. It was very different country at that time, It's not like it was too formal then. So my father is had the privilege, and my grandfather has played for everybody, right from Gandhiji and Rabindranath Tagore and everybody. So the thing is, when Indira Gandhiji inquired about this, my father said he's performing vocal concerts these days. And she said, what is he studying? Okay. My father said, we are not having time to put him in school, and I don't believe in that. And so I'm doing formal education. I mean, I'm doing home tutoring for him myself, and my wife is doing. My mother was teaching me Sanskrit, Hindi, and all that. And all the other languages. So I could read and write Tamil, Kannada, Telugu, English, of course, Sanskrit, and all this. But then, before my father returned from Delhi by train, the principal of Kendriya Vidyalaya CLRA had come to my house. He met my grandmother with one letter saying that he has been instructed to admit me immediately in the school next itself. So before my father...
That was a very big surprise for you.
Yeah, before my father came to Chennai, I was already going to school. That is the speed with which the government was working at that time. But I've had the privilege of, performing for many of these people across the aisle. Even recently, Modi ji invited me for some other discussions and all that. Manmohan ji has worked with us in other projects. I played the very first concert when the Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts was inaugurated by Rajiv Gandhi ji. So I've had the pleasure to, as an artist, you perform for everyone, right? Or you interact with everyone irrespective of who is in the government, because you are there for a bigger thing, which is art. And as an ambassador of positive values of our a good artist is generally having the privilege of playing and interacting with everyone.
True, true. So most of us know what a veena is, but uh, could you please tell us what is a Chitravina exactly? How different it is from a regular veena, and from where did this originate, Chitravina?
Chitravina is first mentioned in Bharata's Natya Shastra. Sangeet Ratnakar of Sharangadeva also talks about it
Hmm.
as a seven-string instrument.
Seven
There,
string. Okay.
if you see
Hmm.
the treatises, they all mention several types of veena. The name veena used to, in those days, refer to any string instrument,
Okay.
not the fretted veena that we are talking about today.
Hmm.
24 fretted veena that we are seeing in concerts was only introduced in 1500s, 1600s.
Okay.
Okay. It was only perfected by Raghunath Nayak's period.
Hmm.
Okay. Until then, there were veenas without frets, like Chitravina. Chitravina is
Oh,
completely fretless. It's a fretless
true.
lute.
Hmm.
So it will look like a veena. The traditional model of Chitravina was designed by Gotwadhyam Sakaram Rao, his
Hmm.
father. Sakaram Rao himself was the guru of Sammangudi Srinivasayar as well as my grandfather, Gotwadhyam Narayanan.
Oh.
Sakaram Rao's father was Srinivasa Rao, who used to simply play like this using a slide. Basically, you play the Chitravina like a slide on top of the strings, not like placing your fingers
Frets.
like and
Yeah.
plucking. Like
Hmm.
it's a slide. So he used to play with the slide simply for fun on a tambura.
Hmm.
Okay, because he liked that continuity. Because there are no frets in Chitravina.
Hmm.
In Veena, you have to place your hands in between the frets and then produce the music. Whereas in Chitravina, no frets, so you just slide over the strings. You
Hmm.
know. And Sakaram Rao gave it a shape like a traditional Veena. So the
Okay.
Chitravina today would look like a Veena, the traditional one. Recently, I created something called the Navachitravina, which has a flat resonator. It has a
Hmm.
different and higher pitch and all that. So, what is other main distinctive point of Chitravina in terms of design is the number of strings. In Veena,
Hmm.
you have 7 strings usually. In Chitravina, my grandfather put 21 strings,
Okay.
including sympathetic strings, just like
Hmm.
sitar and North Indian instruments. So, this is the only South Indian instrument which has all the 12 resonant strings
Okay.
also.
Hmm.
So, that add to the richness and ambient beauty of the instrument. If you see close-up images of Chitravina in either some of my videos or concerts and all that, you'll see that we also have multiple strings that we pluck at the same time in the main layer also.
Hmm.
So we have, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4 strings in Veena at the top, which are
Hmm.
individually placed, Chitravina will have a string arrangement of 3 + 2 + 1. So the
Okay.
main will have 3 strings
Hmm.
together, which will add to a very vocal kind of a tone. So one of
Hmm.
them is lower octave. So you hear 2 octaves at the same time. So it's almost
Oh.
like a male female chorus kind of a feel that the instrument has. All these were perfected by my grandfather, and
Hmm.
my father has then popularized them. Today, almost 90-95% of Chitravina artists follow my grandfather's design.
That's wonderful, sir. Then what inspired you to create this Navachitravina? Were there any limitations in the conventional go-to?
No limitations at all. It's basically um, that when I was collaborating with a lot of other artists like sitar or even Western orchestras or artists from Iran or France or jazz traditions or Brazilian music or African music and some other things.
Hmm.
Then they were finding the pitch difficult. Traditional Chitravina is best in G sharp
Okay.
pitch,
Okay.
and that was sometimes a limitation from the collaboration side. So then I had to change my tuning or play from Madhyama Shruti and all these kind of things.
Oh.
So then the Navachitra Veena design happened organically into a higher pitch. So today I can play the Navachitra Veena in B or C or sometimes very rare cases slightly more also.
Okay.
So that helps my international collaborations much more, and also my collaborations with a lot of Hindustani artists.
Hmm.
Uh, when I play with sitar or say Mohan Veena, Vishwamohan Bajji, or Sarod and other instruments, the Nava Chitravina becomes easier for us to collaborate. And it's also easy to transport because lighter size and smaller size and good for air travel.
Mm-hmm.
And even in Carnatic, sometimes, if I was playing with, say, flute Ramani sir and say mandolin Srinivas
Mm-hmm.
and some of these artists, then the C pitch became easier for us to work together.
Oh.
So Ramani sir and I have performed even in G sharp. We have performed before. Me and Balamuli sir have performed several times in G sharp pitch. He and I have played a lot of viola and Chitravina concerts too. But when you are singing, the Navachitra became easier for me to do Jugalbandis with him.
So when you had to do G or G sharp, you were just using the conventional Chitravina or the same?
Conventional Chitravina, only that's all I had until the year
Oh.
1999 2000.
Okay.
So I was doing in that.
Mm-hmm.
So all my collaborations were done on that, either with me adjusting or the other artist adjusting.
Mm-hmm.
So when I did this extra instrument, I got the option to make it easier mutually.
Okay. So it is usually said that music and math go hand in hand. So what is the association according to you between music and math?
Well, see, the math part of music is one of the most precise in Carnatic. Okay, and it's also very sophisticated. I have collaborated with so many artists from different genres, and I would say that Carnatic rhythms and the Carnatic approach to rhythms, the core wise, the kind of sophistication that we do in mathematical development, it's like unparalleled. The concept of playing something three times itself gives a beauty and a challenge. It gives a kind of a climactic feel itself in the first place. And then you come up with very interesting core ways and, finales that you can come up with, which are very original. You have a lot of approaches to creating these core ways. Some of these I have also developed something called seamless core ways. The very concept is very different to normal core wave. A seamless core wave will be like a mathematical challenge, actually. It is a mathematical. So that has fascinated both musicians and mathematicians. But this does not mean that music is math-centric. It is still aesthetic-centric only. Mm-hmm. If you look at most of the top legends of the previous era, they barely indulge in mathematics. Okay. They would have Laya sense, but would not be doing complicated mathematical core ways and all that. Many of them, they would do Sarvalagu Swaras, or they will do melodically very engaging kind of Kalpana Swarams also. But percussionists gradually started doing more and more of the core ways. Even they used to play more simpler stuff before, focusing more on the tonality and the tonal variations and the dynamics and those kind of things. But gradually, the rhythmic part of it also developed. But prior to that, some composers, like Uthigadu Venkatakavi, for example, they have created music with incredible sophistication in terms of gati bhedams in the composition, or sophisticated approaches to even kalais within a composition, kalai changes within a composition. Those kind of things were very much there. And if you look at some of the treatises on the 108 tala systems that was there, all that show that there was very, very stronger level of mathematics, even like several hundred years back, which in fact we have lost. We are no longer singing things in very, very big talas from the 108 tala systems and all that much, except in some lecture demonstrations. So math has been a very integral part of our music. And personally speaking, my arithmetic sense went up tremendously because of music. Okay. In fact, when I went and joined school in 4th standard, I used to be the top in mathematics. Even from the moment I stepped in, my math was extremely high order. My classmates will be saying, even if some small multiplication or thing, they'll be saying, what means or something they'll say. But I would have already the answer.
Okay. So music helped you in math.
Music really helped, not only in math, but also cognitive abilities overall. You really start understanding a lot of things. It's also to do with the way my father taught me music. It also gave me a lot of culture. So if my father would teach a song, he would give the story behind that song or any incidents that is mentioned. For example, if Tyagaraja talks about Valmiki, then the entire story of Valmiki would be covered in some interesting detail by my father. And then the meaning of the song, the context of the song, the historical, cultural, mythological, geographical kind of background, everything would be covered in the song, the way my father taught me. Because we had like good 16 to 18 hours per day at our disposal in those days.
Oh, okay.
So overall cognitive abilities, the sharpness of brain, and also that a philosophical approach to life. That also comes through very strong for balance. How to take both good and bad with more equanimity, and at the same time get the best out of life in your own ways. All that comes with music.
Very well said, sir. I mean, this is something, everybody should remember. I mean, whoever is starting to learn music or parents who want to teach their children music. So, what are the benefits of learning music or teaching their kids music? So, the whatever you have told us today, they are just golden words. So, I think there are some takeaway points for everybody who is listening to this.
Thank you so much. See, some of these have been mentioned in our own treatises too. That's why they always used to say that music is the easiest path to moksha, salvation. It gives both iha and parasukham. So, all the comforts of this world, if you're a good artist, you get all the benefits of being a top performer and top professional in this planet. And also, it also gives you a higher level of both aesthetic and spiritual and philosophical upliftment that is extremely ennobling. And today, a lot of studies are actually proving the benefits of music, including longevity and health benefits like mental health, especially, and also your respiratory health, your pulmonary and your cardio health. All these things, musical benefits are now being studied scientifically, even by the Western world. So what has been mentioned in our ancient knowledge systems are now being validated by clinical trials also.
True, sir. Then what is the difference with regard to the expressiveness, maybe, between instruments that involve plucking a string, for example, veena or a sitar, guitar, etc., versus ones that are played by continuous touching of a string, like violin or a sarangi?
I would say that violin has a lot of advantages in terms of the continuous sound it can produce by the bowing. Okay. And a good violinist can stretch the bow itself for even like 30, 40 seconds, a single stroke of the bow in one direction. That's very good artists, not everyone. So they can do that. But one thing that happens in violin is because it has the string changes very limited space, right? String. So that means you have to break the bow and then put a different bowing for a different string. So that sometimes can break the sahithyam in occasionals. And if you look at veena and Chitravina kind of instruments, without amplification, if you pluck them, the plucking sound is going to decay after some time. So then you have to pluck again. Now, if you play long syllable gaps, kind of kshetrajna padam, or even some varnas. If you do this, then only the next is coming, but it may not sustain. So then what happens? You have to keep plucking here and there in between in some of those instruments. But today, amplification has improved. The contact makes more sustained. So artists, if they are serious about doing vocal style, accurate sahitya articulation, they can do a lot more today. And I would say they should do. They should be able to sing the song They should only try and pluck for the correct syllables. Even if it's a long gap, they should try to sustain. They should improve their left hand technique also. It's not only right hand. Even in a veena, the left hand technique should be much better for them to bring the sustain. Even frets. Chitravina also, you have to have certain very subtle techniques which I've developed. I don't want to get too technical in your interview now, but I have developed techniques which can bring a lot more continuity on these instruments too. So each has its own beauty. The length of the Chitravina and Chitravina, especially because length is more, you can play a lot of microtones more accurately on the Chitravina. In violin, because of the being less, so you are forced to put your finger. The finger itself is occupying some part of the space, and then another finger occupy more space. Here, it's just one single slide, so there's just one point of contact. So you can be much more accurate in very subtle differences. For example, microtones. If you want to play Kalyani, in violin, you have to almost do with the ma. That phrase. So their technique, because of it's not anybody's fault. It is just that instrument has
limitations so again, of those instruments.
Yeah, very good violinists, they will not use the another finger for putting the oscillation with the ma note. They'll try to only slide the ga itself. But even then, so it's more a constraint of the space. So each instrument has its own advantages, limitations, but a good artist can still produce wholesome music.
True, sir. True. The concept of Melharmony is your brainchild. So could you elaborate that for us?
See, Western music is harmony central. That means you are looking at more than one note at a time. When you play a chord, you are actually playing 3 notes or even more at the same time. So many times it will be plucked together.
True.
It could be the same instrumentalist who is playing that in even a violin, they use multiple fingers to play these notes. Or there could be, if it's a symphony orchestra, then one person can be playing sa, another set of people can be playing ga, another could be playing pa, that kind of region, kind of multiple sounds at the same time. It's polyphony, basically. Okay. In other words, that is vertically, one note is placed on top of another in of those systems. In our music and many other systems of music, it's purely melodic. That means the focus is not so much on simultaneous sounds, but it's on successive notes. So that is called melodic systems.
Okay.
Technically, those are known as melodic systems. These vertical kind of systems are known as harmonic systems.
Harmonic.
So Melharmony is about bringing these two together. Because the rules of melody and the rules of harmony are very different. Okay. Now, in Western harmony rules, usually it is every alternate note that can be played on top of previous one. If it is sa, you can't play re along with sa. It has to be a distance of another tone or semitone at least. Sa, ga only can come together. Sa, ga, and then ma can't be played along with that. Sa, ga, pa only has next. So it's always alternate notes usually. Okay. Whereas our ragas don't work like that. Our ragas are successive notes. Re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa, Shankarabharanam. Whereas for them, the same, that is called major scale in the West. Okay, so for them, that Shankarabharanam development will be Sagapa. That is completely not even there for us. Re, mad, or re, mad, all these kind of things will be there for them. But those are not valid phrases in our system. So how do we know a real situation where we can actually create different types of harmony using melodic rules as a center? The West, ragas are not there. They have only major and minor scale. So maybe another harmonic minor, these kind of things. So they don't have as many different scales as we have. For us, only the 7-note scales itself is 72.
Yeah.
And then if you do permutation combinations, including Varja ragas, Vakra ragas, all these things, using 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 notes and all these things, then you end up with millions. 7.2 million has been a number calculated by some experts. So 7.2 million, that is 72 lakh plus ragas are possible in theory. So now many of them are not even used in other cultures. So I came up with this concept when I was invited to collaborate with artists of the BBC Philharmonic Orchestra in London, in UK. And so typically Europeans are very, very conservative and all that. I was fearing whether they will take this concept seriously, but they were very, very open and receptive. So we had the first Melharmony collaboration where I even arranged Tyagaraja's Shobilu Saptaswara.
Okay.
And one small Ragam Tanam Pallavi in Karagarapriya and all that I arranged for them. Karagarapriya and Kalyani. I did. Pallavi was in both these ragas, so it was called KK Suite. Kalyani Karagarapriya Suite. So like this, we did some interesting shows. Then we presented some Western composers. So it was a big, actually, because there were nearly 2,000 events in that entire year. And ours was selected in the top 5. Wow. And so we were for an encore and all that. And the BBC magazine ran a cover story of Melharmony. Oh. So this was in the year 2000 for the Millennium Festival. Then since then, I have collaborated with a lot of orchestras. So today, I'm very, very happy to say that I've introduced more than 100 ragas to Western orchestras through Melharmony.
So what kind of ragas do you choose when you collaborate, sir, with Western musicians?
Very good question. I have actually chosen ragas which may appear simple in the beginning, like Jagan Mohini, which is a straight scale. But I also later on started trying other ragas like even Nattai, Janaranjani. Okay. Recently, Saroja Dalanetri, Shama Sastri, I arranged. I have arranged Dikshita's Shri Saraswati Hite in Manji. And similarly, we have now developed ways in which even Sahana I arranged for a Melharmonic presentation. And I did a piece which was covering all the 72 Melakathas. That's the only piece in the whole world which is for an orchestra, but covering the 72 Melakathas. It is there on YouTube. You can check it out by searching for Climatrix Symphony, performed by a symphony orchestra. In fact, the one in YouTube has more than 300 artists from 35 countries performing that piece. Oh. We did it for the environment. And so that one is there. And now we are actually having a Oothukadu Venkatagavi Bach Festival on October 20th, I think. Oh. So we are presenting pieces in Ritigola, Uma Bharanam, Mo, and then also Gaula and all that.
Where is this happening, sir? This particular concert?
This is happening, in fact, October 20th in Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
In fact, that particular concert, we are going to also have that festival. We are having the violin legend V.V. Subramaniam sir, Mridangam legend Tichi Shankaran sir, and Patri Satish Kumar ji. We are all going to perform together with the orchestra. The orchestra is in Houston, Apollo Chamber players, very well-known players. So they are going to come to Madison. So we are going to be saluting both Oothukadu Venkatagavi and Bach in the Western world. Last year we did Tyagaraja Mozart Festival. Before that we did Swatitinal Mendelssohn Festival. We have done Dikshita Festival. We did Shama Sastri Schubert Festival. Like this, different composers we celebrate from the East and the Western traditions in the Melharmony Festival. You should attend sometime.
Yes, sir, for sure. I look forward to that. But how do you explain these kind of complicated ragas to them?
No, I don't explain at all. I have to write everything in Western notation and give it to them.
Oh, okay.
I write Western notation. So, in fact, my software writes it. But I have sort of developed a working knowledge of how to notate. In fact, even Gamakas like Kampitamol have now developed techniques to make the Western software do Gamakas.
Oh.
Shri Rama, Shri Rama, Shri Manokarama. All these kind of things made that Gamakas also come.
Wow, that's interesting.
If you actually listen to some of those things, we had this big festival in Madison Concert Square, where more than 45,000 people for the first ever times they attended concert where we presented Muthuswami Dikshita's Srikantimatim and then Parvati Patim and all that, performed by this Western orchestra. So for the first time, they got aware that there are composers in India who have done as much for world music, like Mozart or anybody else. So this is the way in which we are able to bring a greater awareness to Indian classical music. If you search Melharmony Concert Square on YouTube, you'll be able to see that particular recording where the conductor actually says Indian classical music is more than 2,500 years old. So we are now making the West realize how traditional and how ancient our classical systems are. Until recently, they were all thinking that Western is the only classical and everything else is folk or traditional. Okay. Now they are appreciating that this is a classical system with a huge history and huge evolution. The significance of Melharmony in world music.
Very nice. And you are even proving that music is a universal language. You collaborate with so many Western musicians, so that itself proves that you can collaborate with any kind of.
The person who did all this first in a very serious manner was Pandit Ravi Shankar.
Okay.
He sowed the seeds by doing a lot of East-West things, even in 1960s, 70s, working with legendary orchestras. He, in fact, a lot of his contributions inspired people like the Beatles, George Harrison, and all these Yehudi Menuhin, and so many other top people. And in fact, that had a huge impact in also rock and roll and in jazz and all that. So Pandit Ravi Shankar gets the number one position. He is my biggest idol in this particular context, taking our music, making it global. What he did for Hindustani is what I'm trying to hope to replicate for Carnatic. Because he focused on Hindustani, of course. But in Carnatic, the other people who contributed significantly, we should really salute them. That is L. Subramaniam sir, L. Shankar sir. To a large extent, they worked with a lot of non-Indian artists in that era, in 70s, 80s and all that. So their contributions are tremendous in this area. And they've all inspired me to do some work.
Very nice, sir. So when it comes to your compositions, like many other composers, you also have your own traditional mudra of Ravi Shashi in your compositions. So is that to include your brother Shashi Kiranji's name too, that you chose Ravi Shashi, or is there some other reason?
No, actually, my very first composition I composed when I was like 12. And at that time, I showed it to one of the percussion legends, Palghat Ramachandrayar. And this composition was in Tamil. It's in a raga called Samapriya. Okay.
Your own composition. Your own ragam.
So, that's where the raga goes. And at that time, there was no, I got it when I was doing Shruti Pidam and Sunada Vinodini. So I called it Sunada Priya at that time. But Rama, who is actually a senior contemporary of Palghat Maniyar and T.K. Mutisar and everyone. Okay. He was a legend, but he got spiritual and went out to Tirupati. He was performing almost every day until 1940s, late 40s. But then he became spiritual and retired from music. Went away. But fantastic artist. Today, actually, if you see a lot of the Mridangam players, they have taken many concepts that Ramachandra introduced first. The entire Vinayakaram school is Ramachandra's parampara. Harihara Sharma, Vinayakaram himself, Subhash Chandran sir, all of these are Ramachandra's lineage. Similarly, a lot of the ideas Karikudi Mani sir played were all Ramachandra's concepts. So like this, the entire Mridangam world respects him very highly, but he was a fantastic vocalist also. So when he heard my first composition, he used to come to my house, and I was very blessed that he used to even play for me in my practice and all that. And he told me, so in that song, I had put Ravikiran. I had also put Ravi Shashi in that signature. It was not signature at that time. It was just like sun and moon. That was the way I had actually put Ravi Shashi Nayana. So then I also, last line, I had put my name, Ravikiran something. But Ramachandra said, don't keep Ravikiran as your mudra, put Ravi Shashi as your mudra from now onwards. So then I kept Ravi Shashi as a mudra. Usually, I will never make it to mean me or my brother. It's only to
Okay.
mean the sun and moon.
It's just a coincidence.
It's a coincidence, and so
Yeah.
it's always in that context of sun and moon. And Shashi, of course, he was never composing until recently, but he has now composed some of his own pieces too. So,
Hmm.
if mudra is something else, I don't even know what is mudra is yet.
Okay. That's really nice, sir. I've heard many of your compositions, sir. So, but one of the compositions that truly touched my heart is a composition on MS Subbulakshmi Amma. I think which you dedicated to her during her centenary celebrations. A Raga Malika. So each of its charanams has its own Raga Mudra, which in itself beautifully fits into bhavam of the Sahityam. So I have no words, sir. I mean, how beautifully this composition is made. The combination of those ragams and the sahityam, the meaning behind it's so, I mean, it's so easy to understand the sahityam. The meaning is so beautifully made and describing the life of the Carnatic queen. So it's definitely one of a kind, sir. So thank you so much for giving us such a wonderful masterpiece.
Thank you so much. I was requested to compose that by a very prominent organization in Bangalore,
Oh, okay.
and so exactly we released it on her birthday, September
Wow.
16th. On her 100th birthday, it was released.
Hmm.
And my students who sang it, they learned it within 1 or 2 days and then went and recorded and sang it also. So a lot of credit to everybody for that.
भावयामि सदा सङ्गीत शुभलक्ष्मीं भावयामि सदा सङ्गीत शुभलक्ष्मीं भावयामि सदा सङ्गीत शुभलक्ष्मीं भावयामि सदा सङ्गीत शुभलक्ष्मीं भावयामि सदा सङ्गीत शुभलक्ष्मी
And you are the only composer to have composed in each of the 35 talas of the Carnatic music, and the first to have composed the 72 Mela Ragamalika Geetam, which is another masterpiece. That's so beautiful. I mean, each of your compositions is itself a masterpiece. I cannot mention just one or two of those, but because I have to take some examples, I'm mentioning a very few here. But yeah, compositions are just so amazing, sir.
Oh, God's grace, God's grace. So, you see, for me, composing happened only because I'm a Rasika of all the other great composers. And I developed the repertoire of those masterpieces, right? If you learn Tyagaraja, Annamaya, Bhadrachal
Mhm.
Ramadasa, Shama Sastri, Purandaradasa, Ootukada Venkatakavi, Muthuswami
Mhm.
Dikshit, all these great composers, the more you learn,
Yeah.
the more knowledge. Because many times when you learn, you are also doing a lot of research to try to understand what they mean. So you are developing a lot of peripheral knowledge of our culture, history, mythology, everything.
Mhm.
So all that inspires us to come up with some small creations.
And there are also some other interesting creations such as Pancharaga Tala Jati Malika Tillana. And we have heard Raga Malikas, but combination of Raga Tala Jati Malika. So what made you create this?
See, that was actually for, I was invited to do this entire opera on Goddess Lakshmi. Actually, I was invited to do a dance opera for three hours plus, okay, by the Cleveland Festival.
Oh.
So it's 1995. Just the previous year, Lal Gudi sir had done an opera called Jaya Jaya Devi.
Okay.
Which was a very good success because it covered a lot of stories of Parvati. 5 different stories of Parvati were presented in that one. And I watched that also. And the next year, the organizers wanted me to compose a similar thing. And then my father and Guruji suggested, why don't you do Lakshmi? Dancers rarely have taken up Lakshmi in a very elaborate way. So if you do that, it'll be a contribution. And so I went and did a lot of research on Goddess Lakshmi's stories because it was 3 hours plus. And so we had to do a lot of research to get good stories, which can be choreographed also. And so I composed that. And this piece, the Tilana that you're talking about, was like the climax of that, the finale of that entire show.
Okay.
And 5 episodes of Lakshmi. And Tilana ended up with 5 parts, Pallavi, Anupallavi, and 3 charnams. And then somehow I came up with this concept of using all the 5 jatis and 5, different talas, all the prominent talas. Adi talam, Rupaga talam, Mishra chapu, Khanda chapu, and Sankirna chapu were used in the Tilana. And the 5 ragas were Darbari Kannada, Bilagari, Api, Behag, and Mathimauti. And so it will mention, somehow it will highlight some of the stories that were there also in the dance drama, but also basically highlight Lakshmi in a very nice manner. But it was beautifully choreographed by the dancers also. Guru Radha choreographed that dance drama. And musicians included, like, Dr. Prapancham Sitaram Garu played the flute for my dance drama. And then, of course, my brother, sister, and cousin Chitravina Ganesh, they were the lead vocalists. So like this, we had a fantastic team. So we took almost like 30, 40 artists from India for this entire Lakshmi Prabhu tour into the US. And so this was the background of that particular song. And my opening song for that was an invocation called Ashtalakshmi Namostute, which is a Raga Malika also, bringing... Well, yeah, that is also available in YouTube, actually. Ashtalakshmi. Most of several dancers have taken it up, and musicians also sing it regularly.
So, out of many ragams you have created, if I have to mention one ragam that was created by you recently, I think that is Narendra Modini. That got so popular. Surendra, Munindra, Narendra Modini, Sangeeta Vani. So you meant to praise the goddess of music, Saraswati, but it has skillfully embedded the name of our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji in the opening lines. That's so wonderful, sir. I mean, what made you create this wonderful composition? How did you get this idea, and what made you do this for Narendra Modi?
Very interesting incident actually happened. See, the dance legend Sonal Mansingh ji invited me for a concert in Delhi.
Okay.
Along with another sitarist and cello artist, Shubhendra Rao, and his wife, Saskia Rao. So we had a Zoom meeting like this. So Sonal Mansingh ji, in the Zoom meeting after your opening, she was introducing me to the other artists also. So she said that Ravi ji has composed a raga on Modi ji also. I immediately corrected her, saying, no, I have not composed anything on Modi ji. Okay. I have composed on Gandhi ji. There is a raga which I have composed on Mohini, which is on tribute to Gandhi ji. And so I immediately corrected her that time. So this happened at about 4:30 in the evening. Then we finished the meeting, and then by 9:30 I got this idea to actually come up with this raga. So then he immediately called Sonal Mansingh. He said that based on your inspiration, somehow I have come up with this raga, Narendra Modini. And then I sang and showed it to her, and she was very happy. And I also created this piece at the time. It was just purely God's grace. And
that was so spontaneous that you created the ragam and
I
immediately sang
created,
it.
and I immediately had to make sure that that raga did not exist in either Carnatic or Hindustani.
True.
So I even checked with some of my Hindustani counterparts singing the scale and asking whether they heard of it. I checked Hindustani treatises to make sure that it doesn't list it some way. In Carnatic music, there's a database of more than 5,000 ragas with Arohanam. So none of this combination had been named there. So I checked all that, and then only I gave it a name myself.
Yeah, I mean, the Arohanam is an Audava and Avarohanam is a Vakram.
Something like that, No, I think Avarohanam is probably just straight only. Yeah, it's probably. Like that.
Oh, okay.
That's
Okay.
Audava Sampurna.
Oh. So when you compose such compositions, when you create these, is it the sahityam that first comes to your mind, or is it the ragam or the swarasthanams which you choose when you create this
Very,
ragam?
very difficult to say. Sometimes you get an idea of a sahityam. Sometimes you get a musical phrase that is running in your head. Then you put the sahityam. Many of these things can happen. Sometimes it happens simultaneously. It's not easy to actually pin it down to one or the other. A lot of things can happen in different ways at different times. Now, for example, it can be sometimes an incident that triggers a song. Now, in this case, that was an example. A similar instance when I went to visit Chamundeshwari temple in Mysore, along with some friends. So we had a fantastic darshan, very close up, and and then as we were coming out, my friend told me, we were able to see the goddess so well. I immediately told jokingly, that's all fine, but it's only important that the goddess sees us well. The goddess has to give her full kataksham, not Orajuku. So that's what I was telling my friend in a joking fashion. So, and then that set a very funny comedy kind of a thought in my head, hasya rasam kind of a concept. What if the goddess is having short sight and not able to see us well? Simply, just a fun thought. Okay, so then I came up with this song asking, this was happening with Chamundeshwari, but my song actually was addressed to Shanmukha.
Oh.
Annadi Venduma Velava. Do I need to get you some glasses,
okay.
Kartikeya, so that you can see me better and bless me better?
Oh.
So it's just a hasya rasa kind of what you call a ninda stuti. Okay. So then this imagery you should see. Shanmukha with 6 faces having one pair of glasses. That means it's having 12 different things with one frame. So you should imagine the whole scenario. But that song is that's also there in YouTube actually.
Okay.
So, but the surface level is that, but the deeper level is, of course, that we need the full Daiva Kataksham. This is what Tyagaraja has asked in Oraju Chedinyayama, just glad kind of thing. But he has asked in a very serious way because it's Rama. You are generally serious. This was with Krishna and Kartikeya and all that, you can be slightly more free, cooler when you communicate. So,
which ragam was this made, sir?
This is actually Chintamani.
Chintamani, okay.
Chintamani, again, one of the most majestic Devi Brove kind of thing is there. The
Yeah,
Chama
yeah.
Shastri is
That's
there.
a
But
very
so
beautiful
much of
kruti.
profound,
Hmm.
yes. That feel of Chintamani is completely different to this different avatar of Chintamani in this one. It's a
Hmm.
bouncy kind of feel. Kind of a feel.
Hmm.
You are exploring a completely different facet of the raga in this
A
composition.
fast-paced song, a little bit.
Yes. So the raga gives scope. So that is the musical takeaway for me also in that. That the raga is that scope. The song formed in Chintamani only in my head.
Hmm.
I didn't even think of some other raga in this. It just came to me straight. So it just happened like that.
And one more ragam is Veetavanam, in honor of the iconic Western composer Beethoven. I have seen your video again on the YouTube on this, sir. You were playing the original slide interpretation for Paralys of Beethoven, and that had an improvisatory prelude in your own created ragam. So again, how did
So
you do that?
a lot of people were asking me to play a few release actually. Okay. Because they thought that the Chitravina as an instrument had a scope to do a very beautiful rendition. I had never even heard that
It
piece before.
sounds so beautiful. It sounds very beautiful.
God's grace. Until then, I had not heard that piece, honestly.
Okay.
But they were talking to me. Then they showed me this piece, and they said that you should try this, Raviji. And I said, okay, I'll try it. Because Carnatic itself is such an ocean, right? So you don't have time to go and dive deep into other oceans. So I only have a working knowledge of other systems because I collaborate. That's all. But this one, because it was a request from some Rasikas, I said, okay, I'll take a serious look. I heard the piece, the piece is very beautiful. Then I tried it on my instrument. Challenging passages are there in that actually. Because it's not meant for Chitravina, right? It's meant for piano, that kind of instruments which has multiple fingers. See, in Chitravina, you have one slide. So you have to do a lot of work 8 times fast, 20 times faster than other smaller instruments where you use multiple fingers. So there were passages which were challenging, but I still liked the piece. So I played the piece. Then I thought it's not enough simply playing the piece because there are literally, if you go to YouTube, you'll see hundreds of people who have played the piece.
Yeah.
So then I did a prelude. I thought, okay, I'll do something that brings our music also into this. So I wanted to do a melodic improv with an alapana kind of thing. That raga structure happened. And so then I gave it a name because Veetavanam for Beethoven. So.
There's one more two-note raga that you created. So could you tell us about that? Because we have mostly heard of 4-note, 5-note, 6-note. Of course, they're all very common, but 2-note is something which we have never heard.
Were you able to hear the piece by any chance? It's called Ananya. Yeah, it's called Ananya.
Okay.
Again, if somebody were to ask me intellectually whether 2-note ragas are possible, I'll say no. Even now, I will say no.
Okay.
Intellectually, musically, grammatically, theoretically, I would never subscribe to that at all.
Because the scope is too limited and Swara Sancharam would be very limited. Is that the reason?
And that is one reason only. But as it is just 2 notes, you can't do meaningful, viable composition in my opinion. It will start getting very boring and it'll just be jugglery of notes. And it will not be really quality music in my opinion. But in this case, it happened on its own. I did not set out to do this at all in life. But one day I woke up with this composition almost formed in my head. So I simply recorded whatever it was coming to my head. I didn't want to lose that thought process, so I just recorded. Sharanagata Dasajanavan.
Wow.
Using only sa, pa, only sa and pa. In both these notes, you cannot even have a gamaka. Like you cannot have kampitam. See, sometimes even when you do 3-note ragas, see, for example, Balamuli sir did this sama pa sa sa pa ma sa uma sutam, all these things he has done. I've heard Rajan Sajan Mishra of the Hindustani tradition, they sang once and showed me saga pa sa sa pa ga sa. Sama pasa also you can't do kampitam at all. But the saga pasa you can oscillate the ga. So there is some rakti that you can bring in that by oscillation. Whereas this other one, you have to do it more as an intelligent kind of an exposure. More your swara shuddham and swara jnanam only can come in that one. So like this, then I came up with the combinations Katyayani, another 3-note raga. And then later on, Ayodhesha. These combinations I had seen, at least when I came up with it, they were not there in the field. But later on, I learned Sagapasa, the Sadhana Gandharam variant Balamuli sir had done earlier. Though I gave it a name Ayodhesha. These things happen. So for Rakti, you need at least one note, something that you can oscillate somewhere for a Carnatic kind of a feel. So some note, if it is oscillated, it has a more aesthetic feel. So Sapa, nothing is possible in technique. But when I composed, the piece came with so many glides, jarus, which actually gives a full wholesome feel. Then I realized that, okay, it is not just the kampitam, but also the jarus, which can actually make music viable without any kampitam also. And that's what happened in this composition. You try and listen to the recording, it will be there on YouTube.
Yeah.
शरणागत दास जनावन शरणागत दास जनावन शरणागत दास जनावन शरणं शरणं तिरुपति पते 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 शरणागत दास जनावन.
So you were just saying that you get those compositions in your head when you sleep. So do you think only of music during sleep too?
No. I am very down to earth. I think of a lot of things.
Okay.
But music is always there in the back of my mind. It's like a 24-hour channel that is running all the time. Subconsciously, it will be there. A lot of ideas will be there happening subconsciously. And sometimes when you are in this half sleep state or something, you get some thought. Like I would, today at least, I have the luxury of waking up, then recording it quickly, doing a video and then going back to sleep. So even if it's one of the things, I'll record it and go to sleep. Before, I used to lose a lot of my ideas because I had to then put the light on, search for a paper, pen.
Write it down. True.
Then if I'm lazy and too sleepy, then I would lose the idea when I woke up the next morning. So that used to happen sometimes. But today, at least, it's slightly better.
True. So today's world, which is mostly digital and everything is virtual or online, how do you teach a student who wants to learn Chitravina sitting somewhere remotely? Because especially this is a challenge when learning string instruments, and because it's not an easy task for a beginner to tune their own instrument and begin. So how would you manage teaching that tuning part and actually start to play the string instrument online?
So first, the thing is that my students are, a lot of them are actually vocalists,
Okay.
violinists, flute, veena, guitar, keyboard, everything people come and learn, even clarinet, trombone, all these people are learning from me.
Okay.
Chitravina also, they learn, a lot of them are playing Chitravina. Many of them who are successful today as concert artists are also there. And but I will never start an instrument remotely.
Yeah.
No instrument you should ever start remotely. You should have them come for some live lessons.
True.
Or usually, if they want to learn Chitravina, I'll initially, probably, if they're coming to me, fine. Or I'll at least put them under a faculty. If somebody is available, or I may ask them to come initially, at least for a few weeks, for them to basically develop the basic technique. Base technique they should have, and then getting the notes. And a lot of people are doing that. In fact, a lot of my students in the US who are learning Chitravina, they fly down to India and spend some time, or they fly me down to the US. And if I'm free, then I make the time for them. In fact, once they come to a particular level where they can repeat whatever I sing on Zoom, so then it's easier. If I play and show them and they're able to repeat what I'm singing or playing, then that is easier than to continue on Zoom. But even that, I was actually the person who introduced tele-teaching itself in Carnatic music, even for vocal. Okay. After that, today, now the field has embraced that entire concept of remote learning. But when I did, we only used to have audio cassettes and telephone.
Okay.
In fact, one of my very first students was a boy in Texas, Austin, Vishal Sapuram. He's from Andhra Pradesh, but settled there. And he was learning on the phone and cassettes from me for some time. And in fact, we did an Arangetram of this also in Music Academy Mini Hall. But by the time he was 9 years old.
Wow.
Okay. At effective, it was when both the teacher and the student had a lot of passion to make it work. And his Sarangetram was with K.V. Prasad sir and Delhi Sundarajan and that artist. So it's a proper Sarangetram. In fact, Kanyakumari ji, T.T. was of Music Academy. They were all chief guests for that.
Wow.
So, yeah, today Vishal is an A-grade artist in both vocal and in Chitravina, and he also sings and all that. So why I'm saying this? So tele-teaching as a concept itself, I introduce. Today also, if you see, go to acharyanet.com. It's India's biggest portal, and I'm the dean of courses for them. So there are literally 800 lessons plus in Acharyanet, which have been not only taught by me, but also by other legendary artists like R.K. Srikantan sir, Trichy Shankaran sir, Seshagopalan sir, Maladi brothers, and so many others have taught in Acharyanet. So we are big into remote learning, and literally thousands of students are learning from our institution. But I still say that tele-learning is only a supplement and never a substitute for live learning. So I encourage all my students to also make the time to come and take live lessons. And many of them are doing that. They're very passionate. So the parents come and take live lessons, even for vocal.
Okay.
They will come and they take live lessons. There are people who take even like 100, 200 classes a year so that they can progress faster and all that. So they are very, very passionate, many of them.
So my next question is for the benefit of those who want to be good composers. So what does it take to be a good composer?
It really takes a lot of things. But first and foremost is you should be a rasika of all the great composers. You should become familiar with a lot of other great Endaro Mahanubhavulus, really speaking. If you are not familiar with their works, I And not familiar means not simply book knowledge. You should actually learn to sing them or play them. And you should learn their artham, good artham, bhavartham, all these things you should really analyze deeply. You should learn that. You should develop bhasha jnanam. You should develop the shastra jnanam. Shastra, I mean, I'm not saying like some Vyakarana level of bookish academic kind of excellence. Not in music, you should know the Sangeet, Shastra Jnanam and all that. Basically, you should know how to create what is the yardsticks for lyrics, for example. What is Chandam? What is Prasam? What is Anuprasam? All these things you should have some kind of at least a basic awareness of what all these people have done. See, if you see classic composers, usually the prasam will be fantastic, especially Dvitiya Akshara prasam in South Indian languages, be it Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and all this. That is must for a good composer. You can't have Rama in your first line and then Krishna as a second line. It should be some Soma, Bhima. The second syllable should rhyme usually. Okay. Whereas in North Indian Sanskrit, that is not compulsory. In North Indian Sanskrit, the last syllable should rhyme. So like this, there are different kinds of important considerations that we should have when we are, even we want to compose. And with all that said, that will still not be enough to become a composer. It's really God-given imagination. At the end of the day, you should have creativity,
True.
imagination.
That's I think the very important point.
Yeah. Otherwise, it will just be academic compositions. See, so that means you need scholarship to empower yourself so that when you get imagination, that creation is good. The output is also scholarly. So inspiration from all the great composers and information from all the sources. We need that combination. And that is how it has been for all the Uttama Vagyakaras. If you look at Sangeeta Ratnakara of Sharangadeva, he mentions more than 25-30 qualities for Uttama Vagyakara, including awareness of how to create dialogues for dance or opera. All these things, if you look at his yardsticks, almost nobody that we think of as great would fall in his books, actually. They won't check all the boxes.
Okay. That may be practically impossible.
Practically impossible, but the fact that he has mentioned it shows that there were people like that before. Obviously, we are not aware of them.
Okay.
But there must have been that level of high-level composers who existed for him to be aware of so many factors that go into a Uttama Vagyakara, right? If we are not having awareness of them, it is our misfortune.
True.
I did a study. In fact, I took Sharangadeva's yardsticks, put it on one side, and then I put some of the top composers, Tyagaraja, Dikshita, Shyama Sastry, Venkatakavi. Very few people fill all the boxes, like Tyagaraja does, Venkatakavi, Oothakadu Venkatakavi does some of the things. So he talks about so many different yardsticks, actually. Similarly, he talks about Gayaka Gunadoshams, good qualities for vocalist, for instrument. All these things he talks about. If you were to look at his standards of excellence, then we all need to work a lot more to get where he expects us to be.
But we are fortunate enough to have those granthas with us even today to study.
Yes. We are having the granthas, but how many of us are aware of this is something.
That's true.
And also the problem is that many of these are in such high-level Sanskrit, so we need people to translate them into English or regional languages for us to understand. Even for gurus to understand and musicians to understand, composers to understand, accessibility has to be much, much higher. Only some of them are translated fully into English properly. Available online. Otherwise, you have to buy proper translated works.
So how should a musician continue their lifelong journey of being a student and discover things even years after training, practice, and formal degrees in music?
I think being a student is something that is there or not there. There are, I have seen Samangudi Srinivasayar, M.S. Subbalakshmi, Nethanuri sir, Vrindama, DKP. Many of these top artists, even in their 80s and 90s also, they were always thinking like a student. Lalgudi sir.
That's their greatness and humbleness.
Yes, not just greatness and humbleness. It is genuinely that they were aware of the fact that there is so much to this cosmic
Ocean
beauty.
of music.
The more they learn, the more they realize there is so much more to this. So that sense of excitement, a sense of wonder, sense of aesthetic delight that we take in this, that is something you cannot teach. It is there or it's not there. I see teenagers who think they have learned everything and they just need a certificate on their wall.
Yeah.
That I see that also. So I see both ends of the spectrum. And to me, the important thing is you should always be open to learning from somebody who is a truly great artist. If you are interacting with that kind of a person, then you somehow may end up getting some of that attitude yourself. So for me, interacting with these great people gave me that attitude. Even today, my father and Guruji Chitravina Ravikiran sir, always he listens to a concert of mine, he'll immediately pick up the phone after that, and he'll actually give me a critical feedback of what all I could have done better.
Oh.
So I'm very lucky to have such a person who is all the time looking at what else I can do.
True.
Right? And that is very important, to have somebody, to be constantly somebody like that.
Yeah.
Not critic alone, just constantly in touch with the person who is always taking you to higher levels. And that is why I truly see, I learned for years from my father. And when I was about 18, I was performing all over the world, senior concert, doing blah, blah, this. Then I went to Brindama, the legendary Brinda, because I wanted to learn their repertoire, the Veena Dhanamal repertoire. Going to Brindama was another entire universe. She gifted me with a microscope to see the microcosmic beauty of music, the subtleties.
Wow.
It taught me plenty of that. It's not like I was not aware, but Brindama was again another entire different perspective. So the kind of nuances, the subtle gamakas, the subtle oscillations, and the subtle glides that they would do, you cannot simply see it with your naked eye many times. You need that microscopic to be able to appreciate or even get to that point. So like that, I was very, very fortunate. So if we think that we are already where we are, where we need to, then that's only going to stunt our growth.
True.
And we'll be like frogs in the well, thinking that this is the best there is. Kind of thing.
Very, very well said, sir. I mean, this is something I think most of us should take today. A lot of people who feel they're already in the top position, or they have learned everything. No, that's not the end, is what they should know.
That's one thing. Second thing, learning is also only one part of the game where arts are concerned. See, in science, learning is all. If you learn 2 + 2 is equal to 4, that is the end of the story. In art, that's the beginning of the story.
True.
It's about making the 2 + 2 is equal to 4 exciting for others. You can't simply say 2 + 2 is equal to 4 in a robotic voice in art. You have to make that sound exciting. You have to make it bigger than what it actually is. Oh, 2 + 2 is equal to 4. If you say in such a way, then somebody will think that's like the 9th wonder of the world or something. So that's what art is about.
Yeah.
Art has to attract, it has to entertain, it has to. That means you need not only buddhi, you need siddhi. Siddhi is the key.
Yeah.
So that means you learn, then you perfect. You go on in a journey of constant quest for excellence. That excellence is the key to life in anything that we do. Because perfection is only for gods. Human beings cannot get perfection. If they become, then they become one with God, basically.
Yeah, true.
But excellence is something that everybody can aspire for. Excellence in rendering the same Vata Piganapatim better and better each time. Making it grammatically correct and then aesthetically excellent. That is very important. And then how are we able to attract people with it? You have to develop a magnetic quality to the music. All that is the main focus of a good artist.
True. I'm sure a lot of people would be benefited from the inspiring talk today.
Thank you so much.
So thank you so much, Ravikiran ji, for sparing your valuable time in spite of your very busy schedule. Your contribution towards music is so extensive. This interview today just covers only a very brief area of your works, but there is definitely much more to talk about your contribution, but which I think a day wouldn't suffice. So, so we are truly privileged to have you with us on this show of Classical Tuesday, Shruti Lailu. So thank you once again, sir, from the entire team of Radio Surabhi.
Entirely my pleasure. You asked some lovely questions. My very best wishes to you in your own personal journey and as well as all your viewers and fans and followers. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Namaskaram.